Hey guys.
Hello.
You're back with Charles and
Z.
we just got back from our spring break vacation with our kids, and we're kind of getting all of our stuff in order. We thought we'd make some more videos for you guys today. And the first topic is something that came up while we were on vacation because we spent like 7 days on the road with 3 kids, 8, 7, and 2 years old. Mm-hmm. And well, I'm rounding up, he'll be 2 next week. And we got to practice all of our communication skills, shuffling kids between 2 Airbnbs, packing, unloading, repacking, driving 3-4 plus hours at a time. And it was a lot, and but we had a great time.
We did.
And we learned some things about how we communicate with each other, or how our communication breaks down sometimes. And Z, do you want to start that off, or should I?
I'll let you start, then I'll jump in.
Okay. So I'm trying to remember exactly how this got started for me, whether it was in business school or it was somewhere. But I learned about nonviolent communication, and so if you've never studied nonviolent communication, what that means is communicating without assigning blame. So here's a good for example. If we forgot to pack a suitcase, like we realize, oh, there isn't a suitcase with us, then I have a couple of choices as far as how I could phrase that. I could say, you didn't bring the suitcase, or I could say, we don't have the suitcase. And in either way, it's communicating the thing that I want to communicate. It's communicating the suitcase is not here, we're going to need to go get it. But the way that I choose to phrase it, I could communicate that information either in a neutral fashion by not assigning blame to either person. It's just a fact that we don't have the suitcase. Mm-hmm. Or I could say, you didn't bring the suitcase. So not only do we not have the suitcase, but us not having the suitcase is your fault. And for me, I really took that lesson to heart about nonviolent communication a long time ago. And when I'm speaking, I try very, very, very hard to remove the assignment of blame from everything that I'm communicating. And I don't know, would you say that I do an okay job with that on the regular?
You do on the regular. On the regular. Yeah, that's where I'll leave it, on the regular. Now, why do you think this came up as far as how we communicate? You talk about how you choose to communicate, which I think is good. Now, how does that relate to you and I? Where did this topic kind of...
So I feel that because nonviolent communication is something that I really work on with myself, it's also something that I'm very perceptive of in the way people communicate to me. Mm-hmm. And so probably more so than other people. So, what do you want, baby man? Oh, does he want a sippy? Okay. So... Yeah. So, rightly or wrongly, I'm very sensitive to that in the way that people communicate to me. So, if somebody says, you didn't do this, or you forgot this, or this is your fault, it's immediately going to tick with me, like, oh, this person is choosing to assign the blame for this to me. And then my wheels start spinning. Like, is it fair that this person's assigning the blame to this for this thing to me? I immediately start kind of reacting to it. And pause it. Sorry, we have to take this. Okay, that was an issue at home, but we got it all resolved. So we were, maybe. Kids at home with my 86-year-old dad it's a whole nother video in itself.
Life is lifing.
Anyway,
yes.
So we were talking about nonviolent communication and about the fact that I'm probably hypersensitive to when other people communicate with me in a way that assigns blame, needlessly, in my opinion, because it's something that I try to strip out of my communication, and I think this comes up a lot, or for me, or sometimes because I feel like Z, when she's communicating things with me, puts things in there that are kind of blame assigning, and I feel like it rubs me the wrong way. And I feel like I have kind of a negative reaction to it, and probably say things back that are reacting to that. And so I don't know. What are your thoughts?
And the discussion that I was having with Charles earlier is, since we've had the spring break trip and we had some, little snafus, right? Some disagreements there. I thought about how I communicate, right? And the thought came to me that I need to communicate based on the individual, right? Everyone receives information differently, regardless of what your intent is. And how I was brought up, if you don't know, my background is Jamaican. I was born here in the States, but my mom, my dad, my siblings were all born in Jamaica. And I think how we speak to each other can be perceived to be more aggressive, but we don't receive it that way, right? For example, like, if someone is driving fast, like, why are you driving so fast? Rather than, I think maybe you should slow down. You're driving a bit too fast. But I wouldn't take offense if someone said, why are you driving so fast? But, I am driving down, let me slow down. But Charles may take offense if I phrased it in that way, even though my intent is not to be offensive, if that makes sense.
Well, and now just to clarify, that's not a perfect example of what I was talking about. What I was talking about was something like, if we realize we don't have the suitcase, and I would be like, we don't have the suitcase, and Z might be like, why you didn't bring the suitcase?
Well, no, so it is, the example is the same, right? Like, why are you driving so fast?
But clearly, if I'm driving fast, obviously I'm the one driving, you're not driving. Whereas I feel like sometimes you assign blame when you notice facts, but then you like assign blame to the other person, even if the actual blame is not known.
I can't really think of any scenarios where that is something that I thought was your responsibility, for example, or something that you were taking the responsibility for. I feel like sometimes I will pose a question to you, right, to conjure up like what is happening, like what is happening with this particular task or this responsibility, and I think that sometimes you take offense to that when I'm not trying to be offensive.
Well, now, if it was something where, like, you said, Charles, go turn on the sprinklers, and then the sprinklers weren't on, and you said, Charles, why did you not turn on the sprinklers? I don't think that's a situation where, there's violent or nonviolent communication. Clearly.
Baby.
I know, this is so boring, isn't it, buddy? Clearly, that's a situation where.
Yes, baby. Hold on. No, but you do take offense. For example, I'll give one specific example.
You don't have to strip out blame when it's like actually something that's assigned to me.
No, let me tell you though, a good example. For example, where, as you guys probably know, for those of you that watch the channel, we are in the process of moving, and Charles was going to have the task of cleaning off his desk. And I said to him, I think something, I don't remember the exact words that I used, but what's happening with the desk.
This was in the video we deleted, by the way.
Correct. And you took offense to that. And you said to me, why did you say it in that way? Right? You came back. This is what you said. Like, I didn't like how the words that you use. And that is a prime example of, it wasn't me not knowing who was responsible. This was a task. And I thought I was saying it in a nice way. Like, hey, what's going on with the desk? And you had a very visceral response. And you came back to me and you said, I don't remember exactly, but pretty much the gist of it was like, you should have said that differently. I didn't like how you communicated that. So that is one prime example that I'm referring to.
Okay. So now, to me, that wouldn't actually be an example of what I'm talking about, because because what happened was on a Sunday, Z asked, "Hey, this week coming up, could you clean off that desk?" And I said, "Sure." And then on Wednesday night, she's taking a shower, and I come in, and I'm like kind of chatting with her because it's been all day. I haven't seen her all day, and so we're kind of chatting while she's taking a shower. And then all of a sudden, she's like, "Hey, what are you going to do about that desk?" And it was Wednesday, and I had a visceral reaction to that because the way that she inquired about the desk, it made it sound like I had done something wrong, when in actuality she'd said on Sunday, "Hey, this week can you clean off the desk?" And I said, "Sure." And then on Wednesday, she's like, I felt like she was coming at me with like I had done something wrong by not having the desk cleaned off on Wednesday.
And you see, that's a prime example of what I'm talking about, how you received it. That wasn't my intent.
Yeah.
My intent was that there was nothing budge. And I know the weekends with the kiddos is very hectic for us. Fridays are date night, so I didn't see where that was going to happen. So I was simply just in my mind saying, "Hey, what's up? Just make sure you're still on task." Not that I was saying you're wrong, by Wednesday you didn't have it completed, right? And so that was, for me, that is an example of that. My intent wasn't to stick it to you, but you received it differently. And you're not wrong. I just took it upon myself that I need to change how I communicate to you, because you don't always respond in the way that I'm communicating to you, right? You're deserving of that, right? And I say for every person, every individual, they have different ways that they are receptive of communication, right? And for me, in my family, if I phrased, or had the same question, like, "What's up with that desk?" or "Why are you driving so fast?" I don't think they would have had a negative response to it, right? And I was saying to you, I don't know if that's culturally, because even when, people from my family talk, some people from the outside may say, "Oh, that's aggressive," or "That's how we talk," right? It's what we're used to. We receive it well. Nothing's offensive to us, but I can see for someone from the outside how it can come off or appear in that regards.
And you know what would have made it better, though, from my standpoint? And by the way, I digress. You're right. It is a good example of what I consider violent versus nonviolent communication, because. So I had a visceral reaction to it because I felt like you were accusing me of not having the desk cleaned off by Wednesday. And so to me, a much better way of doing it, would have been to acknowledge the fact that you're asking me about it earlier than the time frame that you had told me to do it in. And so like a better statement would have been, "Hey, I know you don't have to have the desk done until the end of the week, but I just want to know when you're planning to do it." Mm-hmm. That would have been much better received.
Right, and so I've been more cognizant, right? I'm kind of more aware. 4 years into marriage, of the words that I choose. So I'm trying to be more aware, or if I think that I said something that you may have, not received well, I will come back and say, "Hey, for clarification, this is what I mean, or this is why I said what I said to you," so you don't internalize it and brood on it. And I think we always hear, in videos and read articles about communication with relationships, but we never think about really keying in on specific types of communication. And by that I mean, when you talk to your mom, sometimes you have to speak to them differently than when you talk to your husband, or when you talk to your sister, or looking at culture, right? So culture, your background, where you grew up, will also affect how you communicate to others. And we've been together for so many years. I thought that we were just, by now we should know, right? You should get what I'm trying to say to him. And I realize with all of these little, disagreements that we've been having, although my intent was good, he was not receiving it in that way. So I thought in my mind, is there more of an effective way for me to communicate with them? Because I was getting annoyed, right? I was annoyed that he was misinterpreting my feelings or what my intent was when I say or, ask certain questions. I'm like, why are you mad? I'm trying to do things because I care about you, or say things because I care about you. And I started to become, I think, a little bit resentful of you, that you kept accusing me of throwing blame or being negative or trying to poke the bear, so to speak, when that really wasn't, the intent of it all.
Yeah, and I think a viewer actually made a comment to that effect on the video that we took down about our disagreements over moving, where they mentioned that maybe some of our communication issue is cultural differences, and I thought, that's actually very, very perceptive.
Yeah.
Because whereas Z might see directness and kind of like accusation as
I don't like that you choose that. You
okay,
receive
accusation.
it.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's say Z and from her family, from her culture, may see directness as being a form of intimacy, right? Because it's like, this is showing
familiarity is the word,
yeah.
right? And how you talked about, what was it, the
nonviolent communication.
Nonviolent communication. I think that is a great, right? And it covers, from every aspect. I think it's a great mode of communication. But I was saying to you, if you, I don't know, go to a Caribbean island, not that your communication is wrong, but they may not have that sense of familiarity with you, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm like, why are you driving? Why are you doing this? They may not receive it in a negative way. I'm like, oh, she's familiar. She's used to us. She's one of us, right? And so what I'm saying sometimes is, yes, culture, race, all of those things, right, affects what we prefer, as far as our communication goes. And we're just realizing that. I feel like you can always learn your partner, and no worry, you guys. I know sometimes people worry about like us having disagreements. I think we're two intelligent individuals, and what I love about us, I think Charles and I usually like to do self-reflection in that regards, how we can be better for one another. And so I think that is one of the strengths of our relationship. And so I think, for speaking for myself, and to speak for you also, I think we have both put some thought in about how we communicate to one another, how we receive things, and how we can be better. Because I think every day is a chance to be better as far as in our relationship.
Absolutely. What do you guys think? Please put in the comments your stories about communication.
Yes.
What do you think we could do to improve our communication?
Yeah, and as a side note, we took down that last video. I told Charles to take down the last video because we said some harsh things, and I don't think it should stay in the internet world, right? We talked about it afterwards, and we want to show a little bit of our lives as far as like disagreements and how we walk through it. But I think there's a certain level, there's portions of our relationship that we should probably, keep to ourselves and work through ourselves, right? Because we're always evolving, so to speak. And actually, our next video, stay tuned, we're going to talk a little bit more about what we keep, what we don't keep with our YouTube videos.
Absolutely.
Anyway, remember as always to like and subscribe down below. Talk to you guys later. Bye.